So, this is a very interesting chapter, and after all of those really tedious route maps, well, I mean, this map can get tedious if you let it, but I actually find this one kind of fun. So, it's a defeat boss chapter rather than route, and our boss in question, yep, we finally get to defeat this guy. So here's Izuka, and he is actually of the Summoner class, which is considered 3rd tier, but only he can achieve this class in this game. So Summoner in this game works differently to how it does in other games. Basically, every turn, Izuka can summon 4 feral ones around him. They can be either beasts, birds, or dragons. He also has the SS rank Dark Tome. He does drop this even on your first playthrough, but there you should just sell it because it's not actually worth anything. And he also has a rewarp staff. So when you get close to him, Izuka has a tendency to teleport to another location of the map. Now he usually goes to here first, then to here, and then I think he can actually go down here as well. So he likes to teleport around, and so your main goal in this chapter is to clear your way through the feral ones to clear a path to Izuka. Among the feral ones, we have some cats, we have tigers, and oh yeah, feral ones, this is our first instance of actually fighting them, first and last instance of actually fighting them in Radiant Dawn, and they never untransform. Their transform gauge is locked at 30. And we have some hawks too, which are pretty decent stats as well, and some ravens. And also, dragons. So we're fighting dragons for the first time, however their speed stats are pathetic, so just about anything will double them, and they still only have 6 movement, and this swamp will slow them down even further. But one thing to remember about dragons in Radiant Dawn, they have 1 to 2 range now. So just bear that in mind. There are a few dragons scattered around the map, and the dragons here are honestly not that tough. 30 defense is not really all that high by our standards. The tigers can be dangerous in large numbers, but we're very, very powerful by this point, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. So the main thing with this chapter is that because Izuka can endlessly summon feral ones, you can use this chapter to grind as much as you want. This is why I recommended at the start of part 4 that any character you want to bring to endgame but you think is a bit under-leveled, you should bring to Team Elincia, because they get this chapter, and this chapter is basically free grinding, which is going to be good because it means that I might be able to grind Peleus a bit here. So one other thing to mention is the hidden treasure in this chapter. It actually is a little strange because it's actually assigned areas rather than specific squares, but once you find the treasure once, that entire area becomes inactive. So the first is like around, like a square around here, I think. This is an Asherah icon. So yeah, it can be found in any of these squares, but once you find it once, you don't have another chance to find it. Next are 2 Olivigrass, so the first one is 2 squares up from this dead tree, in a square here, and the second is above 2 tiles of trees here, in a square right here, from the looks of things. So yeah, once you find the Olivigrass once, that entire area becomes inactive. There are also 4 coins scattered around the map, so if you want to forge stuff in the final chapter, you can go for those. Just check Serenade's Forest for the locations of those. I don't particularly want to go hunting for them. So anyway, deployment for this chapter. Only Tibard and Elincia are a force, but I definitely want Rayson. Ralph probably, might as well bring these 2. No, probably no. I want Peleus, and you want to deploy Bastion here. You really, really want to deploy Bastion here. May as well bring Joffrey. He might be kind of useful, I guess. And yeah, that should be it. Actually, Kieran's not... Yeah, no, I'll still bring Joffrey. I think Ulki will mostly just be here for restoring. I doubt I'll actually use him to fight much. So yeah, you might notice that Volk is down here. And if we check our units... Okay, either Elincia or Bastion can speak to Volk, but I prefer to have Elincia do other things during this chapter, so I like to have Bastion do it. So, anyway, let's see. Nephany and Aaron are going to be fighting these cats and tigers from the start of the chapter. I think Joffrey will go, like, there-ish. Toronto, he can maybe try and block off this area. It's hard to completely block these tigers. And Peleus will start a little further forward, I guess. I think this is good. Yeah, this should be good. So, let's save and move out. Okay, so first things first, Nephne is going to go ahead and take out this cat here. The cats are very easy to wall off on the first turn, the tigers not so much. But once we get through the initial rush of cats and tigers, this chapter can be pretty much taken at your own pace. It's not really that bad after this point, as long as you don't put anyone too frail in range of tigers. So Alincia's going to go over here and Amity this cat here. Unfortunately, not quadrupling, but doing just barely enough damage, which is good. This is about the point, well, Alincia's already become extremely amazing by this point, but she gets even more amazing here. So Alincia will, yeah, I think she'll go there. Then Tibar's just going to block off this area. Speaking of which, though, one thing that I'm going to do with Tibar, and it's something that I don't normally do, I'm going to switch off animations just for Tibar, because I'm going to be using him to fly up here and just slaughter a ton of feral ones and clear the way to Izuka, and that's going to take a lot of time with battle animations, and because I'm not really too concerned about Tibar's combat abilities later on, yeah, I don't want to show battle animations for him. So, anyway, these tigers, like I said, the tigers are kind of a pain here, because they're a lot trickier to wall off. You need to wall off there, there, and there. I mean, I suppose it's definitely possible. But it's very easy for weaker characters to suffer from death by awesomeness against tigers, because if they kill too many of them, even Aaron, who's one of my most defensive characters, takes 15 damage. Okay, that's useful. That's one tiger dead. Helios can snipe another one with Fenrir, which is generally what I like doing to getting some experience. Basically, in this chapter, my goal here is to get as much experience as I can for Peleus, and then just get out. So here's the problem, I'm pretty sure Joffrey does double these tigers. Actually, maybe he just barely doesn't. Which is probably a good thing for him. I just need to make sure that I'm equipping a weak weapon. Because, yeah, Jeffrey's job here is to wall off the tigers, not to actually, well, not to get killed by them. And not going to make the mistake of putting Toronium in range of them, because he does double them, and his defense is actually quite low for this point in the game, especially for a Marshal. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this. Alincia can do this too, but I like Bastion's conversation better. I'll show Alincia's conversation extra footage. 3,000 is an absolute steal for what we're getting out of this. And even Bastion thinks so. But Volk has a good point. Yeah, Izuka's the kind of person who definitely gets an assassination discount. So I think this actually does deduct 3,000 gold. But we have Volk on our side now. Volk is not around for very long, but for what little time you do have him, he's extremely fun. If I wanted to use a knife user in endgame, I'd take this guy over Soph any day. Unfortunately, Soph is forced to endgame, but that doesn't mean you're forced to deploy him at endgame. Volk's base strength is higher than Soph's maximum strength, and his HP and defense can get a lot higher than Soph's can as well. He also has a far better mastery skill, Lethality, which in this game is more in line with its more modern incarnation. It works off your skill stat instead of working like it did in the GBA games. In this game it's skill over 2%, which means that at cap skill, Volk has a 20% chance of instantly killing any non-boss enemy on every attack, which is pretty decent. Unfortunately, it doesn't activate at range. Assassins in this game, of which Volk is the only one, get the critical plus 25 skill, making them even better at critting things than True Blades. Volk also comes with one very unique skill, Stillness, which is essentially a better version of Shade. The way Stillness works is that as long as an enemy has at least one other target in their attack range, they will not attack the character with Stillness. What its description doesn't tell you is that if the Stillness user is the only one in the enemy's range, the enemy will still attack them. Now this would be a great skill for protecting fragile healers or mages, but it's a weird skill for Volk to get for free, because you really want things attacking Volk given how good he is at killing. And as for giving it to people who can make better use of it, it takes up a whopping 25 capacity, and like Shade, it's Bjork only. So it's a skill that starts on the wrong person and is awesome yet impractical on everyone else. Overall, if you've trained a True Blade by now, Volk is probably not going to be that useful in endgame. True Blades have similar stats and will soon have reliable access to 1 to 2 range. The main thing Volk has over them is a bit of an extra crit rate and lethality. I still find Volk incredibly fun to use though. So Volk is kind of a strange character in this game. I probably mentioned it in his bio, but the Stillness skill. Stillness is a far more reliable version of, can I attack? Not quite, I actually need to get closer to do that. Stillness is essentially a more reliable version of the Shade skill. If the enemy has another potential target, they're about 95% likely to not attack Volk if he's in their range. The problem is, you kind of want enemies to go for Volk because he's ridiculously good, so that is a shame. Okay, don't want Joffrey getting hit by 2 tigers is the thing, so I'm actually going to go ahead and have Race enchant for Volk and get Volk into position. Basically, the way that I'm going to be handling this chapter is... Wait a minute, let me check. Okay, seems like Peleus is safe from there. But the way I'm going to be handling this chapter is to... yes, he's definitely safe. Is to end it once I've got as much experience for Peleus as I can. I kind of want him to be up to around the same level the rest of us are. Which might take a little while, but, I want him to kill the boss of this chapter. For a very good reason. Peleus' boss dialogue here is very, very, very significant. In fact, people used to think that Peleus' special boss dialogue here was required for, unlocking one of the special endgame conversations. It's actually not. You'd think it would be, considering what's revealed in it, but it's not. Also, the battle theme for the enemy phase here is Waves of Discord. We haven't heard this since the Laguz Bandits back in 1.4, and it's at about this point that you start to realize just how repetitive this battle theme really is. Yeah, you've already heard several loops of it by now. Yeah, that's why I turned off battle animations on Tiban. This song gets very, very annoying very quickly. I'm really glad it's only in 3 chapters. Why the heck are you going for Tiban? I guess because you're afraid of Beast Foe. I mean, I don't blame you, but yeah. I really don't blame you. Even Tiban's getting decent amounts of experience from these guys. Yeah, this chapter is definitely a grind fest. Okay, I will need to heal you. But the initial rush of tigers is starting to get thinned out a bit. That's good. And I believe that's cap strength on Aaron, actually. Which means there won't be many other stats for him to gain, but... Huh, you weren't an SS yet? That's kind of odd. You do need to pay attention to the enemy ranges, especially the tigers, because they're not nearly as slowed down by the reeds as you think they might be. And tigers can even move through the swamp decently well. Like I said, this chapter's not that bad if you approach it the right way, but... By the way, that dragon's going to take a bajillion years to get to us. I'm not too scared about him. Yeah. Also, the enemy faction here is fugitives. 4 cats, though. Should I send Nephany or... You know what, I'm going to send Nephany all the way up here. Putting someone on these reeds with Beast Foe pretty much guarantees every single cat and tiger will die. The cats aren't that hard to double, provided that your speed is decent. Okay, that's gone. Yeah, definitely do need to heal Aaron. Peleus can take a hit or two from the cats and survive decently well. And Volk is just absolutely ridiculous. Please get lethality. Well, critical. I do like the crit animation for the Volk, but lethality looks even cooler. His victory pose is just standing there. It almost makes me wonder if they forgot to give him a victory pose, but anyway. In fact, I think Peleus can take 2 cats decently well, because his defense is actually very good for a mage. Not against tigers, but against cats, definitely. I suppose I'll just go for Arc Thunder here. I show Peleus using a bit of thunder magic, though I do want to have him get as much dark experience as possible. Though sadly, he's not going to be taking the SS Dark Tome all the way to the end of the game. First time seeing him actually as a battle model. Ah. Well, every point of HP helps, though you'll need to gain 10 points of HP, well, more than 10 to not die to Izuka. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. Izuka has Flare, so that means you need to be... anyone who attacks him needs to have over 53 HP, because if he activates Flare, you just straight up die. Unless you have over 53 HP. So yeah, be careful of that, obviously. Aaron... actually, he does do decently well with the Javelin. So yeah, initial rush of Tigers is mostly down. Which means that the rest of this map shouldn't be too bad, provided that I don't get careless. And by careless, I mean, I do not want to put Rayson in range of anything, obviously. Because these guys do not care that he's a Heron. They've lost their minds. They will mercilessly attack him. Okay. So, if I put Peleus behind Aaron, I should be safe to use a Recover Staff. Don't like Peleus having, equipping a non-weapon, but still. That's better, but I'd appreciate more speed. And good, Rayson's not in range of anything. The other great thing about this chapter is that you always know exactly where the reinforcements are going to come from. Because we have a direct source for them. Why does Lucia's hand look like it's broken in the battle animations? Anyway. Bastion actually can help, sort of, in this chapter, considering he has all 3 types of magic, but... yeah, you can both reach the mainlands. I think Tiban's actually going to fight this... You know what? Because this is our first time fighting a dragon, I'm going to temporarily turn animations back on again. But I want Tiban to go over here just because, remember when I said that the enemy movement ranges, are actually bigger than you'd think they'd be in the swamp? A lot of enemies can get to Tiban if he goes around here, and that's exactly what I want. Gotta remember to switch the battle animations back. So this might... Dragons are one of the few things that Tiban is not guaranteed to 1 round. They look a lot cooler than they... well, unless he does that. They do look a lot cooler than they did in Path of Radiance, though. And they actually have 1 to 2 range, finally. And yeah, if he goes up there... And there's the Asher icon, nice. I mean, given that it's based on skill, Tiban had a roughly 48% chance of getting that, so he was pretty good for finding that. And as for Alincia, because she has Bird Foe, I kind of like to have her lure birds, but I also don't want too many birds to attack her, because she still isn't that defensively hardy, even with the Amity bonus. And we really don't want dragons breathing on her. It's still a game over if she dies after all. So Alincia's gonna go... I guess she'll go around here. Actually, maybe there. You guys can't get to Lucia, can you? Should be okay. Ulki will just hover around here in case anyone is in need of rescuing. You go ahead and chug your Olivia Grass. If we're lucky, we'll find some more in this chapter, and Joffrey will just stay there. Also, we haven't heard this enemy phase fanfare since back in the beginning. Staff animations for Archstages look pretty cool in battle. Haven't seen them all that often. Did you just attack Tiban in melee? I don't even know what to think. Yep, you deserve that. So yeah, this is why I put Tiban here. He's great at clearing a path towards Izuka, but if he gets close, Izuka will teleport away. And this is why I turned off his animations. Because we don't really need to see this. And yeah, as you can see, Volk was in his range. He went for Aaron. That's how Stillness works. Stillness would be great on anyone besides Volk. The problem is it takes an absolute crap ton of capacity. I think it's 25. It's something really huge, so not a lot of people can afford to put that. And of course, it's not usable by any Lagoos, which means no Herons. Yeah, most of the time, the Lagoo's restriction on certain skills is just to stop you from putting them on Herons. But let's just say that at certain points in endgame, you don't even need, you wouldn't even need Shade on Herons, even if you could use it. There are quite a few endgame bosses and even generic enemies who are programmed to not attack Herons. So that's good, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. And here's Birdfoe working. Actually, Hawks look pretty cool when they're fighting other flyers. Are you tired of Waves of Disco yet? Yeah. That's the, I find this chapter pretty enjoyable overall after the massive rout slog that was the earlier maps, but in part 4, but its main downside is Waves of Disco. So much Waves of Disco. They should have put this on a larger loop, or just not used it here. I get that this faction is technically just like an unaffiliated faction, so it makes sense for them to get the generic bandit battle theme, but they made the loop of this song so short because it was meant for one prologue, where battles do not last very long. Unfortunately here, that's not the case, and so this song gets extremely grating, especially since on Glory's Wings, the player phase battle theme is so much better. But anyway, enough ranting about that. In other news, Tiban is broken as always. Oh, I wanted him to cap skill, that would have been funny. 50% chance of Pavis, though we haven't even seen Pavis yet, because I don't think anything's hit him at all. And now all 4 of those cats are going to die. Tiban's practicing his loops. We also have, a Gathering of Storms, I keep forgetting the name, as the map theme here. Kind of a strange choice, but it's not a bad choice, I guess. This is another song that I used to hate, but I now like a lot more. I remember there used to be someone on Serenade's Forest who, well, really, really hated Radiant Dawn, but one thing that he hated about it was the soundtrack, and I do kind of get that some of the OST, like, the instrumentation doesn't sound quite as good quality as it could be. But I think this game has a few fairly forgettable songs. Like, some of the cutscene themes I think are pretty forgettable. But it does have some very, very... And okay, admittedly, I don't like most of Micaiah's map themes. I think Road of Sorrow and... what's the other one? The one that plays for one endgame is okay, but Road of Sorrow I don't particularly like very much. But the map themes that are good are really good. Like, I love Dark Traveler, Eternal Bond, obviously, even though it's a bit overused. Bearer of Hope, definitely Bearer of Hope. And the endgame map theme, especially the endgame map theme. And yeah, he just summoned a dragon. He does that sometimes. Oh yeah, and that's an equip effect of the Recover Staff. I believe it recovers like 20... It's something pretty massive. It recovers a lot of HP. Now anyway, something that I like doing is making sure that Volk is the only person in that dragon's range, because then Stillness will not work and Volk will attack that guy, and then fun things happen. Okay, you can go a lot further than I thought you could, though. If I put Volk here, then it's always possible that Volk will just pesh cuts this guy to death from a distance. Unfortunately, I don't think lethality can trigger from a distance in this game. And yet, here's the 1-2 range of Dragon showing. And the tankiness of Dragon showing. Even with crits, they often don't die to things. And yes, Volk is the only thing in his range for now, so he will definitely get attacked. Meanwhile, I could actually really want you gone. And yes, Aaron has cap strength. I'm just thinking whether to put Aaron or Nephany in range of all of those enemies. I really want Nephany, actually. So let's go ahead and do this, even though they'll probably ignore her because, Beast Foe. I give the AI props for being smart enough to realize Beast Foe is a threat. But Aaron is overtaking Nephany a little bit here, and I want to turn the tables a bit. And I believe that is actually cap speed on Nephany. Yeah, and in fact, I think Aaron capped at 33, or is it 32? The differences in defense caps are pretty considerable. Okay, don't want Taroniu getting attacked by tigers. But I could just go for a little bit of Taroniu weakening here. Then a Peleus finish, then Chant, maybe? Actually, I don't think chanting for Peleus will do. In fact, unless I have Peleus snipe the dragon with Fenrir. As much as I really want to see Volk get lethality on a dragon, he's probably not going to anyway because of the, you know, range issue. That has higher accuracy. Yes, it does have higher accuracy. And yeah, Balberath is also a biblical reference, like most of the Dark Tomes in this game. One that you'll be, actually, no, I probably shouldn't say that. That's a bit of a spoiler for that game. That's good. That's very good. Your magic is still heavily behind Soren's, but you make up for it by being a lot bulkier than he is. In fact, a lot of Peleus' stats are getting close to capped all round, which mostly just says something about how terrible mage caps are than how, yeah, it's kind of a shame. I still actually enjoy using Peleus, though. As far as, I wouldn't really consider him an est, but as far as late joining low-level characters go, he's not that hard to train. Okay, let's form a bit of a wall here. Let's form up. Not surround them all, but we will not let us... Well, actually, we will let some of them escape, because this isn't a rout chapter. Okay, a couple of the Hawks can go for Volk. So, that is a problem. However, he is in reeds. He does have freakishly high evasion. Volk is just, in general, pretty crazy. Please tell me that does enough. I have to waste 2 uses of Fenrir to kill you. So, given that, I'm actually not going to do that. And instead, wait, no, there's a Raven there. Which I'll probably pick off with Elixir. Because I don't want you to circumvent my lines. In this case, I'll just heal and get some more staff experience, I guess. Yeah, Elincia, let's get rid of this Raven here. Insert Nevermore joke here. I actually think this is the one time in the game we fight Ravens. Which is kind of funny. We fought them a lot, like in Path of Radiance, they were one of the only... Well, I mean, we did fight a lot of Feral One Hawks, but, yeah. And yeah, speaking of which, we've been fighting feral ones for a very long time, so this chapter is... There's a lot of vindication in this chapter. We've sort of waited for ages to do this. And yeah, be aware this tiger can reach anywhere on that island, so... I trust Elincia to be able to take on all of those enemies, but I guess we'll see whether my trust was misplaced or not. Oh, hi, cat. Can the dragon get Ranulf from there? Doesn't look like it. So you just go into the reeds here. This is the last swamp chapter in the game, thankfully. Though most of the swamp chapters I don't find to be that bad, except for 1-8, because... I hate the fact that one of the civilians dies guaranteed if you don't make a very specific move with Tormod on the first turn. Okay, now here... If I put Tib on any closer, usually Izuka teleports away. Oh yeah, I should probably mention, it's not difficult to one-turn this chapter. It just requires you to have a rescue staff, Raisin, and someone with high movement and a 1-2 range weapon. Like a flyer with a wind edge or a javelin. Okay, Volk, don't get hit by this, please. Good. Dragon is still not dead. Okay, one, you didn't attack from range, and two, you just walked up and... sometimes the AI in this game does things that I just don't understand. If you'd attacked Tiban from range, you would have had a chance of damaging him at no possible risk to yourself. But no, you instead walked up into melee and didn't attack. Well... Okay then. That cat decided he'd rather take his chances with Tibard than with Beast Foe. Which is pretty silly. Anyway, I think Izuka's gonna teleport soon. I like the splashing effects in the water in the swamp maps as well. So like I said, this map's not really that difficult. The enemies are strong, but so are we. So... Tiban's leveled up twice, wow. Still no capping skill, though. I think he might have capped speed. I'm not sure, but... No, his speed goes up to 45, I think. Okay, Alincia will need to dodge a little more. I probably should have given her Vantage now I think about it, although it might not have been fitted on her skill set. There's Vantage plus Bird Foe against these guys. I mean, her speed's not that high, so she won't be activating Vantage very much. Okay, yeah. And again, not attacking. I'm very confused. Also, here's the Pesh Carts. It's a really powerful throwing knife, and it's usually what Soph gets given an endgame instead of the base lard, because Volt starts with an SS and knives, and is way better than Soph is. Which is it's kind of a shame that Soph is forced to endgame, because pretty much everyone would rather use Volt. That could be bad. Ooh, that could be really bad. As long as Alincia dodges one of the other two Ravens, although I feel like maybe the Ravens, not both of them can get to her. Or gain defense, maybe. Defense might be good here. You gain almost everything but defense. Oh no, those Ravens can definitely reach her. But as long as she dodges one, she should be okay. I'm a little nervous here. Just when I said this chapter wasn't that bad. That animation's pretty cool. At least we are getting to see Volk fight a little bit, which is you normally don't do because he has stillness and everything just ignores him. Okay, please dodge. 36. Alincia had better dodge. Good, okay. And unless that next Raven is freakishly strong, Alincia's gonna be fine. The main problem is how do I heal her, because she's the one who has my physics staff. Probably should have given that to Peleus or Bastion, now I think about it. Actually, definitely should have given it to Bastion. Yet more rare footage of actual enemy Ravens in this game. There it is! That is pretty cool. It might actually be... Okay, so I think in terms of my hierarchy of lethality animations, Path of Radiances is definitely my least favorite lethality animation. But in terms of the others, they're all pretty cool. It's hard to rank them, but I think that the GBA one's probably my absolute favorite. And yep, he's teleporting. Followed by this one, and then The Awakening and Fates one is still very good, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about the lethality animation in this game that's just really cool. But yes, so one weakness of Izuka is that the turn that he teleports, he equips the Rewarp Staff, so he can counter you, but he won't be doing much damage. So use that as your opportunity to wail on him. If you manage to catch him just after he teleports, Izuka's pretty easy. And he's in fact pretty easy to beat. Well, I mean, if you use Tiban, he's ridiculously easy to beat, but, yeah. No, I'm gonna have Peleus go here. I wanted to make sure that, I get rid of that dragon, because I don't want Peleus getting hit by the dragon. And Red Dragon Breath is still physical in this game, as should be obvious by their high strength stats, but, I guess I can say it now, because we'll need to be knowing this later. White Dragon Breath is now magical. Which is what it was always implied to be in Path of Radiance anyway, so it's kind of weird, because Path of Radiance had no magic Lagoos at all. But, okay then. I guess I could race him for... I need to shove race him in order to get him to Peleus. But I also need to make sure that Peleus doesn't get torn apart by these guys. I mean, I could try and show Dragonfoe in action, but I sort of rather... Actually, for better efficiency, I need Nephany to kill the dragon and then Volk to go up here and kill some other things. So how much damage do tigers do to Volk? Decent damage? Oh, by the way, yes, Stiletto. Stilettos are no longer effective against armors, but they do have a very high crit rate. So, yeah, and it's... Could you even get Stilettos for Soth earlier in the game? I kind of forget. Sadly, yeah, Volk really could have used this crit rate on Stilettos in the last game when, oh, surviving a crit, nice. But that won't save you, because that happens. Volk is just so cool. I want Volk in Heroes so badly. He's probably my favorite knife user in the entire series. But anyway, yeah, because in that game, lethality triggered based on your crit rate. It was the exact same way it did in the Game Boy Advance games. Here, though, lethality, it's more in line with how it works in the more modern Fire Emblem games, where it's skill over 2%. Which, in a game where Volk can reach 40 skill, that's kind of... I mean, 20% lethality rate isn't that high, but it's still pretty good, all things considered. Yeah, even with effectiveness bonus, Thunder Magic doesn't really do all that much to dragons, comparatively speaking. 36 damage and doubling would be great against most things, but dragons tend to have around 70 plus HP, so... Okay, good. Rayson is not in danger there. Yes, he is in danger there, but that will soon be rectified, because Nephany... Now he's not in danger anymore. I actually really wish that Bastion had physics, because if I get stupidly unlucky with Volk's evasion, he could die here, but don't really see that happening anytime soon. Or I could just put Tiban in the Tiger's range and they'll attack Tiban. Come on, no tear. Oh. Because yeah, the moment that I do that... yeah, Rayson's not in danger, that's good. You can't get to anyone because you're a dragon in this game and your movement is terrible. Suppose Joffrey can go over here in case I need him. And Elincia, I think she's just going to hit this Raven and then run. Or she could equip like a... You know what? That actually begs the question. Do foe skills affect stars? Oh, they wouldn't affect stars anyway, because stars only have like 1 light or 0 might. But I mean, it probably does. Not that that really matters, like I said. The reason why I want Elincia to equip a staff is that so she heals. Gotta be very, very careful to keep out of that dragon's range, though. So I can do that, and that will cause her to recover a ton of HP on the next player phase. Oh, Aaron hasn't moved. That won't cause Raisin to get attacks, right? Would have preferred for you to not attack Tiban, but oh well. But yeah, as you can see, most of the enemies are cleared out now. And good, you didn't attack Tiban. I would have preferred you to attack Nethany. Because this is our last chance to make use of Beast Foe. But yeah, anyway, not really a lot to say here, but I guess I can actually talk about a couple of things regarding, because I will be showing them in a separate video, but Izuka's boss conversations. There's actually some interesting things among the boss conversations. Oh wow, I actually am doing decent damage with Physic, thanks to, I mean, not enough to actually kill, but still, that's pretty amusing. And you're back to summoning. And I think he's equipped Balbereth again. And yeah, that's why I wanted to equip the Physic Staff. So he's just going to stay there and just summon for a little bit. So in the meantime, let's... Yeah, let's just, lot of damage. Anyone who is weak in the defense department should watch out for the Red Dragons. Yeah, one of Izuka's boss conversations has interesting implications. So here's one with Raisin, which is very hard for you to actually see. I used a magic card to get it. But in his conversation with Raisin, he says that, that Herons, succumbed to the feral... that his trials on Herons were always unsuccessful, and that they succumbed to the poisons too quickly to be useful. That's interesting because, considering that the Serenades Massacre wiped out all the Herons apart from 4 of them, which are Raisin, Leanne, Raphael, and their father, and none of, like, if any of those 4 were experimented on by Izuka, we'd know. That implies he must have experimented on Herons before the massacre occurred, and that happened 20 years ago, which means Izuka's been doing this Feral One thing for a long time. Which is really disturbing when you think about it. This has been going on for over 20 years. There's another interesting thing about Izuka's conversations, if I remember correctly. Oh yeah, so in Zihawk's boss dialogue with Izuka, Zihawk mentions that he gives the most explicit mention of his deceased former girlfriend. He says, "She always told me never to let anger and hate guide me. This will be my only exception." And we still don't know, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but we know that Zihawk was in a relationship with Laguz and that it ended badly, and it's heavily implied that she was killed. But we don't know exactly what type of Laguz it was. We don't know any details about her. I personally think that they were Beast Tribe, whoever they were, because if you look at Zihawk's special dialogue in the chapters where Ike fights Micaiah's party, if you look at his dialogue there, I guess maybe let's go for Nethany versus Dragons. But yeah, if you look at the special dialogue, he does seem to have a particular kinship with the Beast Tribe. It's them that he's the most hesitant about fighting. Birds, not so much, but Beast Tribe completely just... he does not want to fight at all. And in particular, the way that he was recruited in the first game with Leth and Mordecai. I mean, they are the only Laguz that you have with you at that point. I'm not counting Nasir, but you're not supposed to know Nasir's Laguz then. I like to think that his girlfriend was... I mean, It's funny, she was probably a cat, but I kind of want to think tiger because we haven't seen the female tiger in the whole series, so it would be interesting to see what a female tiger looks like. Because we do know that Patrine is tiger branded, but that's all we really know. So we know what a half tiger looks like, but we have never seen a female tiger in the series before. Okay, good block there, because I was hoping that, yeah, you need to save your HP for the dragon, let's just say. Of course, Aaron is the one with dragon, so I probably should use him to lure, but I want a little bit more experience for Nephany. And that's exactly what I'd hope you do. Now, what I'm really hoping happens is lethality. Please lethality now. Yep, nice one. I love that animation. Bane looks the same, it's just blue rather than red, which might be an unintentional reference to Silencer and Sacred Stones, which got censored to blue or purple flashing in the English version instead of red. Ow. Yeah, that's over 150 damage. These foe skills are pretty fun sometimes. I think you're going to run out of the spear soon, though. Yep, that was the last use, I thought so. Please tell me you're equipping the javelin now. Because otherwise, me putting you in range of the dragon is totally pointless. But oh well. So I'm specifically waiting for Izuka to teleport down near where the rest of my army is, because then I want to have Peleus fight him, and I probably will have to battle save for that, because if Peleus gets hit by Flare, he's gonna die. Obviously don't want that happening. But I definitely want to show that conversation. And Peleus is not likely to kill Izuka unless you get Flare, because Izuka has a lot of resistance. How many uses of, oh, the dragon didn't even move at all. You've still got 3 Fenrirs. Oh, but I don't want Izuka, I don't want Peleus getting too far over here, because, yeah, I'm basically waiting until Izuka teleports there, which is usually the second place that he teleports to. And then I'll just, yeah, let's go for more dark experience, because he's gonna need that. I have very limited arm scrolls, so I think a few of them are purchasable in the bargains in the next chapter. He's starting to get a little less experience from things, but he's actually catching up to Soren, though, yeah, his magic is really behind. And Soren, I think, still has more speed. Okay, well, I really would like Nephany to get this thing. Let's just have Nephany go first, then I can, if she fails, I can show Dragonflow. Look how tiny she looks compared to this guy. Okay, I can show Dragonflow then. And she leveled up, nice. It's still kind of weird how dragons in this game have wings, even though they're not counted as flyers. But then again, that's kind of true of a lot of dragons at Media, like, yeah, Silver Great Lance with Dragonflow. That's what I'll use here. Please get impaled, that would be amazing. Oh. I mean, there are quite a few Pokemon who have wings that aren't flying types, though some of them later got the levitate ability. Which, speaking of levitate, it's really weird watching people play Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and seeing them use Earthquake on Weezings and Gengars. Well, I mean, Gengar has recently become lost its Earthquake immunity in the main series too, but still. Okay, there's a dragon there. Maybe I should actually go there with Tiban just to provoke, many of the enemies there into dying and maybe to provoke Izuka into teleporting. I still would really like Peleus to get the kill, but Volk has a pretty good boss conversation with Izuka as well. Let me just... Actually, I think I have the skills page up. I need to check if lethality works on bosses in Radiant Dawn. Okay, Serena's Forest just says does not work on certain enemies, which I'm guessing means doesn't work on bosses. I know that was the case in Path of Radiance. In some of the GBA games, only the final boss was immune to lethality. Regular bosses weren't. Speaking of which, yeah, one of those things I was... Actually, that was a failed attempt of Oliver's chapter where I talked about invisible skills. So, there are a lot of features in this game that are actually, controlled via the use of invisible skills. One of them is being a protagonist, which gives you access to the Order's ability and lets people use your authority stars. That's an invisible skill. Being promoted is an invisible skill. I think being on a horse or being a flyer is an invisible skill. And the effect of the invisible flyer skill is, that it prevents you from receiving terrain bonuses. What else are invisible skills? Being able to open chests, like the thief ability to open chests and doors is an invisible skill. In Path of Radiance, Soft's inability to promote is an invisible skill. He literally has a skill that says this unit can't promote. Okay, I think Peleus is decently catching up with the rest of us now. But the thing that I was wanting to say is that being a boss is an invisible skill. So that's presumably what the game checks for lethality immunity. But yes, being a boss is an invisible skill. And the ability to use pref weapons is also an invisible skill, which is kind of interesting, because they actually had to create two, not three, two, additional invisible skills for Leonardo and for Nolan in the English version, because they didn't have pref weapons in the Japanese version. Why not for Edward? Well, it turns out there was one unused invisible pref skill in the Japanese version, and they repurposed that one for Edward. You'll never guess whose invisible skill they repurposed for him, by the way. I'll save that for my unused content video, because you're all gonna laugh at it. Tiban does not even need foe skills to one-shot things. And yeah, Laguz can still use foe skills, so nothing's stopping you from giving Tiban Beast Foe and just having him rip everything apart. So yeah, this chapter definitely feels like a breather compared to... You're summoning again, you're not teleporting, okay. What are we on? Turn 7. Okay, you summon a dragon. That's against the rules, isn't it? No, it's not. Guess I'll just have Peleus get a bit of healing experience. I would like to heal Aaron, but... Actually, maybe I can use Alencia to Physic. I'll save Fortify for endgame, I'm really going to need that there. And Alencia's getting a good amount of levels. This makes up for her her only getting 1 experience from everything during part 2. Alencia's, like, overall caps aren't that amazing, but she does have pretty good luck. Actually, wait a minute. No, you guys can't cross the river. It's funny, I want Izuka to teleport down to the other area, and he's probably going to troll me and stay where he is. But if worse comes to worse, I do have the rescue staff. I do kind of want to save it, though, for getting boss conversations in endgame, because the way that I had to get all the boss conversations with Izuka in this chapter is that I basically had to have Alencia use the rescue staff, then chant with Racem, and then use the rescue staff again. Okay, that's not good. However, this could lead to an amusing situation, because if you get weakened and then decide to go for Alencia, she will kill you with... Well, no. You got critical anyway, oh well. It would have been funny to have Alencia kill you with physics staff. Yeah, speaking of which, Oliver killing things with a staff in endgame is... There are a lot of videos of that. It's funny, you don't see Pavis very much on Tiban because he just dodges everything anyway. Dodges almost everything and then has a 50% chance of not even taking damage even if he does get hit. Tiban is just kind of silly overall. Like most Lagoose Royals. Nasal is my favourite simply for the fact that he's the least broken, so I feel less bad about using him. He's still very good, but yeah, I feel less bad using him because he's not quite as broken. Unfortunately, no one here needs healing. Only 10 enemies. Oh, I forgot about the enemies down here. You guys can just hang there. That wasn't even Pavis. Tiban just flat out took no damage in without Pavis. Why are you going for Tiban and not Neffany and Aaron? Anyway. Oh, you're moving now. Interesting. You're going for Neffany and Aaron. I thought you'd do that. Okay, so you're probably going to go to... Yep, you are. Good. That's exactly where I'd hope you'd go. And since you're equipping a staff, Peleus kind of gets a free shot at you without risk of flare. Actually, I only got one use of Fenrir left. And unfortunately, Fenrir can't activate with flare. And I could weaken him a little bit first. Nope, not doing that. First things first, though. Might as well go for a dragon foe. And I'm... That's 1 damage off killing you. So in that case, I'll just, Now let's see if you can... 60 damage, nice. It's always fun one-shotting. Okay, so 6 times 4 is... That is 240 damage. Nolan has officially been... actually, no, wait, no. Nolan got a critical on 70 damage. No, Nolan has not officially been beaten in his damage record. Okay, so one way or another, Izuka is going to die this turn. So, I'm not too worried here. Because if Peleus fails to get Flare, Volk is going to finish the job, and I really want Peleus to get Flare, though. Yeah, might as well go for the dragon. I find dragon breaking this game looks kind of, interesting. They look more like sort of lasers than like fire or things like that. Okay. I unfortunately cannot really shove you into a position where... Or can I? I think I still can, actually. Oh no, Volk has to move, so no, I can't. So in that case, I think I'll have... Gonna actually battle save here, just in case I want to reset for a Peleus Flare or something. But let's see if Peleus can do this on his own. Let's, not Amity, but if I use the Wind Edge... Yeah, special boss dialogue for this. It's actually easy to list the characters in this party who don't get special boss dialogue with Izuka. This line for Alincia makes more sense if she has Mercy. Oh crap, Alincia could still activate stun, I forgot about that. I do like this guy's staff animation though, it hovers around him kind of like the GBA Druids. No stun, good. But yeah, it is pretty cool how they kind of reference the GBA Druid animation with that. If you're doing that much with Fenrir, you should be able to finish him off. But again, like I do have a battle save in case this fails. Because get ready for one of the longest boss conversations in the game. By a long shot, but there's a reason for that. And this is part 1 of why I train Peleus. 6 times 2. That does exactly enough. Great. I'm sorry, served you well. You tricked him into signing a blood pact and almost getting his whole country killed. Yeah, this convenience. As long as we kill Lekane before people go unpetrified. Again, Peleus is still not the best judge of character. He really should have seen that coming. I don't even... Seriously. That happened so long ago. That was the Maureen incident that happened in part 1. You really think that is on the same level as potentially getting millions killed? Who's not surprised at this? Show of hands. Yeah, everyone. So, some people probably saw that coming. That's why I wanted to get this boss conversation. Well, that is a cool looking spell. Yes, yes, yes. There are so many satisfying ways to take Izuka down. Ranulf has a great line with him, Tiban, but I like doing it with Peleus. The really terrifying thing about Izuka is that in a lot of his special boss dialogues, and yeah, the other feral ones just kind of disintegrate after Izuka dies. His magic was kind of reanimating them and keeping them alive. But yeah, in a lot of his boss conversations, he talks about how you shouldn't kill him because otherwise his work will be, all his research will be lost. And the really scary thing is that is actually what a lot of war criminals in World War II actually did say at their trials. Izuka, I'm sure Izuka is definitely based on some real things that actually happened. I love that moment. I didn't want to talk over it. There's not much I can say about that, but yeah, all 3 herons get to sing at least one point in the game, but this one is... Leanne's song in part 2 was great, but this is probably my favorite of all of them. However, we have unfinished business to deal with. Remember that guy? We're finally about to link all the threads together from this chapter. Threads that have been spun ever since Path of Radiance, for those who looked hard enough for them. And Wham Line! Something to note is that in Path of Radiance's dialogue, no one ever directly says that Renning died. All Alencia says is, "I am alone," and it seems like no one actually saw him die in battle. That's because he didn't actually die. And in fact, we've seen this guy once before, and I'm sure you all know who he was. This was actually hinted at in the dialogue at the beginning of chapter 26, I believe. They talk about how Ashnard takes the strongest warriors and makes them his generals. Yes, that was Bertram. Bertram was Renning all along, I can finally say this. So, if you looked closely at Bertram's portrait in the last game, you can see that distinctive green facial hair that he shares with Renning. Also, Bertram has special boss dialogue with Alencia in that game. It doesn't really reveal anything, but the fact that he even does have dialogue with Alencia really says something. And also, most of Bertram's dialogue in Path of Radiance as well heavily hints at what's going on, particularly when he begs Ike to kill him. Also, if you have any Lagoos fight Bertram, his dialogue is different to fighting Bjork, and he says, "I will eat your soul." Now, this is probably me reading too far into it, but I almost feel like what Bertram is saying there, that's the drug itself talking. In a way, Bertram was kind of personifying the madness itself. So Bertram is what happens when a Bjork is given the Feral One drug. Essentially the same thing as what happens to the Lagoos happens. Actually, did he just say after Her Majesty Iron Company? I thought that meant that Alencia canonically defeated Bertram in the last game, which, actually doing that requires a lot of bonus experience, but it's definitely possible. And this is the job that Bastion hired Volk for. And this is why you can't get Bastion and Volk's A support until after you fight Bertram in the last game. That explains why Izuka was not present at any point during Part 3. Only slightly differently, though. Yeah, we saw that back in the last game with Rajion. And unlike Rajion, Bertram is not dying of wounds, so it might not be too late for the song. Yeah, in the last game, he did require Leanne to be with him at the same time. That's a good point. Ashura might have just helped us save Renning. And yes, again, Renning's a little less severe. And it really says something that... Remember back to Renning's battle quotes in the last game, or rather Bertram's. That's less severe. One can only imagine what the Laguz Feral ones go through. It's interesting, that. Maybe she's not entirely bad. Yune's done some pretty questionable things in the past, so... Both goddesses aren't exactly black and white. So, with that done, next time, it'll be time for endgame preparations, which will be an entire part of their own, because there's a lot to talk about, a lot to go over, and a lot of shopping, selling, forging, skill shuffling. Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit to do there, so see you then for that. I guess one final thing that I can mention before we go, though. The video title that I used for the part where we fought Bertram in Path of Radiance. I wonder if anyone actually figured out what I meant by that. It's kind of a cryptic double reference, because it requires you to both know what's happening to Bertram and have watched Zootopia. But I personally think the Feral One drug is scarily similar to something in that film, so I wanted to reference it in that video title. Anyway, with that, I'll leave you.